Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. On my little analysis on the Nancy Pelosi visit to Taiwan, it's been an interesting some time for the past couple of days when the rhetoric has started picking up about this particular visit coming in over a huge amount of tension as it is uh, being there in Europe. Let's look at some of the things that we know about this particular visit. Why was this done? Why at this time? What is the impact that is going to come across after the visit is over? Now that Nancy Pelosi has flown out of Taiwan, will the Chinese change their stance and become a little more aggressive in terms of their military tactics? I'm here to answer some of those questions and throw some questions out for some of you who'd like to answer and like to share their thoughts as to why this particular thing happened and how is it going to go forward. Let's look at a couple of very interesting factors before we actually dwell into this. But before I actually get into the subject, I'll request you all subscribe to my channel. And of course, yes, most importantly, throw a like because it helps me with the YouTube algorithm grow a little higher. And of course, if you want to support Dev Talks, click the thanks button down there, send me a super chat or a super sticker, or you can actually become a member of Dev Talks. Right, now let's hit the subject. One of the things that I'd like to talk about, as I said, is the entire Nancy Pelosi visit. One of the things we see during this particular visit was the arrival that Nancy Pelosi took, the aircraft, the flight path that this aircraft took. A lot of people speculated that she would go through the South China Sea and the Chinese were preparing. And as a matter of fact, the former editor of Global Times had put out a very clear statement that they will shoot the aircraft down. It is very interesting to see the way that they have actually taken this aircraft, which tells you the United States Armed Forces who had made enough and ample preparations to ensure a safe air corridor, which would be given to Nancy Pelosi as she would be entering Taiwanese airspace and furthermore landing in Taipei. A lot of people may ask, she was supposed to go, I think, sometime in April and May. Why did it get delayed? The COVID is about 14, 15 days. What happened? Why did it get delayed to June, July, and now August? Why is it happening now? Something that a lot of us must know about China is that sometime in August, not a very declared fact, and I've spoken about this in one of my previous videos, is that there is a meeting called the Bedaihe meeting, which happens in a small resort town somewhere outskirts of Beijing, where in this particular meeting, the top echelons of the Chinese Communist Party sit down, discuss pretty much informally as to what is happening in the country, what needs to be done, and how things need to be taken forward. Till about 2017, Xi Jinping used to have pretty much a clear run with regards to these Bedaihe meetings. He was able to dominate, and these meetings had only a single way communication coming in from Xi himself. There was a little problem that took place in 2018 within the country, which got Xi onto a back foot at that particular point of time. He got a little bit of flack, as been reported by some China watchers, with regards to the standoff with India sometime in 2020, because the elders of the party or the party supremos, if I may say so, were not very happy with the confrontation that he had picked up with India. Last year, I know for a fact that he was questioned about the zero COVID policy, where we see today China trying to modify that policy just a little bit to ensure the name is kept same, but things do change. This time around, if China is not able to give a formal, hard reply to this provocation done by Nancy Pelosi visiting Taiwan, or the United States for that matter, it is going to be a tough time for Xi Jinping to face the music as far as the Communist Party leadership is concerned. It is going to be quite the challenge. And as a matter of fact, I quite feel the timing of this particular visit has been planned so as to coincide with this Bedaihe meeting. Another thing that I've been taking up with various different people, including General Shankar and various different experts that have come onto my channel, is that China is at probably its weakest point in terms of its economy, in terms of the COVID, which is actually hitting it. Their vaccinations don't work. And I've done a whole series of talks with regards to the failing economy of China, recently released, as a matter of fact, done as a live session on Sunday. Do check it out for a little further detail. So the point being, China was it at its weakest at this point of time. That's probably one of the reasons the timing was also chosen so. The entire game for this visit, why did she come here? Was basically to poke the dragon, if I may just say so. There is no other particular motive or particular agenda that was put out by the United States talking about why does Nancy Pelosi want to go there. As a matter of fact, the military had advised against it, and the president had been quoted in saying and recorded in saying that I don't think it's a right idea. So why did she go there? It is about poking the dragon. It is about the American dual containment strategy. I had put out a tweet about this yesterday with regards to the old video that I had done. Please do check that out. You'll come to know America as a superpower has two main competitors or opposition to itself. One is Russia, second is China. And by doing whatever it's doing in Ukraine and Taiwan, the dual containment policy of these two adversaries comes into force. It's interesting. It is a large level of geopolitics. One must try and understand this entire thing. And a lot has been written. You can actually look at that as well. Something is going to happen. What is going to happen? How is China going to react? Is something I think a lot of us are debating. Will it be military? Will it be economic? Will it be a blockade? Will it be throwing tantrums? What will it be? Till now, what have we seen of the Chinese? We've seen the Chinese drumming their beat a little too hard. They were too loud in terms of their rhetoric. They went on publishing videos and this and that and the other without putting across a certain fact that they actually wanted to do something. They've been sending aircraft into a defense identification zone, which is nothing beyond what they've done before. Mind you, I am not discounting the fact that the Chinese could take military action going forward. I am just trying to say that they haven't done what they had said they would do. What that means is they were blowing their horn too loud and it probably blew back in their face. We see a huge deployment of Chinese forces in the province of Fujian, where it seems they are conducting live firing exercises of rockets and various different types of ammunition and equipment, military equipment that they're trying to use. There have been tanks that have been recorded on the beach where they're tourists roaming around the place. It doesn't really seem like a war zone. Well, that's what I have to say. I mean, I may be completely wrong, and by the time I probably finish this video and sleep and get up in the morning, there probably something would have happened. But at this moment, when we speak, things aren't the way that the Chinese said they would be. Having said that, the Chinese haven't taken military action, but they have taken economic action. As a matter of fact, they've sanctioned over 100 companies which come out of Taiwan and supply China with various different things from biscuits to tea to a whole lot of things that the Taiwanese have been supplying into China have been blocked, have been sanctioned for that matter. Certain entities with regard certain people and certain companies have furthermore been banned in doing any further business within the mainland China. As a matter of fact, yesterday, as I'm not aware at this moment, but yesterday, Vivo and its services had been stopped in Taiwan, and Taiwanese people were not able to use that particular service. What will be the impact of this particular visit? It is going to be long term. It is not going to be a short term impact. Things are going to change within the South China Sea. Things are going to change within the Indo Pacific. How far and how deep these changes are going to be is something that we'll have to see. One of the things that we see, and I know for a fact, is that the Chinese would get a little more aggressive than what they are already. India would have to keep its guard up with regards to the line of actual control. as the Chinese would look at getting some sort of military redemption from some part of the world. As a matter of fact, the Chinese put out an interesting statement towards the Japanese and said that Japan should return all the land that it has stolen from China over the ages. What will be the impact of Xi Jinping? I told you about the Bedaiher meeting. He's up for sort of re election, reappointment, reselection, however you may want to call it, in the month of December, November, December. What is going to happen, and will this particular incident impact the future of Xi Jinping, is something that we'll have to see. Furthermore, one thing that I see happening between Russia and China is that their bilateral relationships, which were pretty much an unsaid alliance till now, might just turn into a public alliance looking at the commonality of each one of their adversaries. As a matter of fact, Russia has mentioned within its naval doctrine that it came out with on the Navy Day recently that USA stands to be its biggest adversary in the world, and the Russians need to work with regards curtailing US's influence around the world. Probably China will join their hands. That again puts India into a tough spot. And I think I'm not going to sit here and explain as to why, because I think it's common knowledge about Indian defense procurement that comes in from Russia. A question, and this is something that came to my mind. The US talks about adhering to the one China policy, and with a very light heart, I'm just saying this to make a little bit of a heavy subject a little lighter. The US talks about one China policy. My question is, which is that one China? Is it Taiwan who has China, or it has China who has Taiwan? You can look at it from both the sides, as a matter of fact. And that's something which is interesting, because once you read the US's China policy, it does not mention any segment of this particular thing that I said. So it's a little interesting, and it's a little twisted sort of a story, but on a lighter heart. And this is not going to be a diplomatic sort of a this thing. As I said, India needs to be on guard. There was some recent air activities that the Chinese conducted over the line of actual control, and I think there was a little bit of a pushback that was given from the Indian Air Force. Today in the afternoon, we got a update that the Chinese have requested India to slow down their air activity close to the line of control, as they find it to be a little dangerous. Well, when the crows come home, that's one somebody can see. Finally, I'd just like to say that we would also start seeing two major things economically. Economically, we would try and now start seeing the actual decoupling with China. As a matter of fact, I personally believe, taking the example from the Russians, the Chinese would look at setting their economy right to try and ensure that they become some sort of a protection. They create some sort of a protection against the sanctions that would inevitably come its way if it takes any military action against Taiwan. I think the Chinese are going to start preparing for a for an economic backlash that might be coming through the world. Let me just say this: preparing for a country that is self-sufficient like Russia would have been much easier than preparing for a country like China that pretty much imports a lot many things in its list of items that it needs from around the world. And it's not just oil and gas, it's a lot more. The second most important things in terms of the economic stature that we will see in this particular region is that the Chinese would try and push hard in terms of getting deals done or putting deals on hold towards certain countries that would be sympathetic towards the Taiwan cause. And that may result in a little bit of a jerk concerning, which would be a little concerning, looking at the factor that we are already going through a little bit of a economic backlash with regards to the whole sanction war, the whole global decoupling, and of course the supply chain disruption that took place post the pandemic. Right. One of the last things that I'd like to mention here is the factor that we have a simple thing that the USA has done. The USA has called out Chinese bluff. It may not be that the Chinese will not do anything going forward. It may just be, for the moment, it seems that USA has taken a step forward in terms of the politics behind US-China relations. And this comes at the backdrop of a pretty much tense phone call that took place between Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping just recently, when this whole Nancy Pelosi visit was in the news. That's all for me. I know I've asked probably a lot many more questions that I've answered, but my point was not to answer a lot of many questions. My point was to put these facts out, put some of the thoughts that I had with regards to this particular visit that has recently concluded. Thank you so much for staying online with me for the past 15 minutes. Sorry for not informing you with regards to this live. It just, these were things that I was thinking about the whole day, and I thought, let me just put this across to the audience, to all of you, and see what you have to say about it. I have a couple of comments which talk about a Chinese TikTok army. Fair enough, great joke. Taiwan needs to become the Republic of Taiwan and no longer the Republic of China. Paper Dragon's rhetoric does not match what they threaten to, as I said, and I think I agree with that. And of course, yes, China would not do anything substantial. They were bluffing. Well, at the moment, till now, it does seem like that there was a little more noise to them than action, but one doesn't know how the story is going to go forward. At this point of time, I'd like to also say tomorrow night at about 9 o'clock, please join me for a live with Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar when we will dwell into this subject in a little more detail, as I've just put out certain news items and certain facts that I saw over the day. A question that has come from one of the viewers is, what could be China's face saver? That's an interesting question, and I would recommend you save it till tomorrow so that we can ask General Shankar as to what his opinion is going to be. In my opinion, at this moment, it is difficult to find, because there's going to be some challenges for China to balance this entire equation off. With the kind of noise that they had made about this incident, just to push back without doing anything is going to be quite difficult. That's all for me today. Before I go, please do hit the subscribe. And then my request to all of you is, please hit this like button. It really helps me beat across the algorithm of YouTube, grow as a channel. And of course, I'd like to also say a big thank you to all the viewers, as Dev Talks was recently nominated as one of the top 10 geopolitical analytical channels on feedspot.com. I'm very proud, and as a matter of fact, I very very it's a great moment for me, who is pretty much not a journalist, not a reporter, not a military man, but just an enthusiast who's coming out, who cares about the geopolitics, and who's interested to know what's happening around him. Don't forget, as I said, to hit the like button, comment your thoughts, your impressions about this entire thing, and as a matter of fact, please do give me some insights as to how I can do a better job. If you do want to donate to me, please hit the thanks button. You can also become a member of Dev Talks by joining Dev Talks. There's a join button right next to subscribe, so you can click that. I'm grateful for all your help, your viewership, and your potential contributions. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow on the live with General Shankar, discussing Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan and the larger picture and what will happen in the future. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.